Hello all, just another reminder that the Name Explain figurine is still available for pre-order. These guys are only going to be available for a really limited amount of time, so if you want one, you're going to have to order one now. And they really help support Name Explain in a really awesome way. If you want to financially help support Name Explain, but don't want to commit to anything like a monthly patron or anything like that, then please do consider buying one of these guys. It really will help out the channel, and you get a nifty figurine in return. Okay, on with the video. It seems that the police are present in every nation on our planet, from the 2 million in China to the 2 on the Pitcairn Islands, and it makes sense as to why everywhere has police officers, as their role is one needed in every part of the world. The role of a police officer is to keep the peace in society and protect and serve the citizens they represent by arresting criminals and preventing crime. Police officers are seen as some of the most important people in society, and even heroes. However, stories of police corruption are all too commonplace. Simply put, they can be very polarizing figures. But I believe it's due to this polarization and the universal understanding of police officers as to why they have so many names and nicknames. A lot of the nicknames that police have acquired are somewhat derogatory, and this comes from the fact that a lot of people really don't like the police for one reason or another, and it's from this dislike that they created these names that have entered popular culture and our lexicon. Is there really anything that speeds up the creation of new language like disdain for others? Though I must stress that is merely my own theorising as to why the police have so many nicknames, and this idea of mine doesn't explain just how strange and varied these many names are. I have never met a pig who could arrest me, and no officer I have met was particularly fuzzy, yet these are names that officers of the law have attained for themselves, and these names have derived from all kinds of places, from wordplay with pre-established words, to referencing the design and appearance of officers and their uniforms, to relating to police in popular culture, to the history of law enforcement, and some just come out of nowhere. So let's take a look at a handful of these names and nicknames the police have got over the years and try to figure out where they came from. Also, I need to mention that this video is dealing with names of police officers in the English language, and there's a strong focus on British names for police, as I'm from the UK myself and we have a wonderful variety of names here that I want to share with you all. So apologies for that, but please let me know what nicknames the police have in your language and in the part of the world you are watching from. Before we look into any of these nicknames, however, where does the word of police itself come from? Well, this name has roots in the ancient Greek polis. This is a word we've talked about in the past, and it means city in Greek. We still see it today in this sense with the likes of Metropolis and Indianapolis. However, this Greek word of polis could also mean things like community/citizens. This Greek polis created the Latin politia, and this Latin word created two further words, policy and police. At first, these two words meant the same thing, a way of managing something, and while policy still holds that meaning to this day, police started to drift away from this meaning. Though as a noun to this day, police and policy are still somewhat similar. Policy means how something should be dealt with, and police means the people who make sure something is dealt in that way. Police was also turning into a verb, to police, meaning to keep order. So the people whose job it was to keep order took on this verb in their job title. They were officers who would police, so they became police officers, and eventually shortened to just police. The name of police created the nickname of Popo, and I just presumed this name of Popo was simply a shortening / diminutive of police, and there was nothing more to it. But there's actually a pretty fun story behind this one. It apparently originates in Southern California in the 1980s. At this time, police officers would patrol the streets on bicycles in pairs, and their uniforms were a t-shirt with PO printed on them. This PO of course meant police officer, so as they cycled in pairs with PO on their shirts, they would spell out Popo, and this silly little name was applied to the police officers themselves and still is used to this day. The colour most associated with the police is blue, and I read a variety of reasons as to why police wear blue. One idea is the darker shade of blue makes them harder to see at night so they can sneak up on criminals easily, and another idea is simply because dirt and stains show up less easily on blue, and you don't want a police officer to look too scruffy. There's supposedly a psychological effect with blue too. People see it as a calming colour and it evokes security, so that may be why police wear it. Here in the UK, the police were made to wear blue simply to differentiate themselves from the army, who wore red at the time. It's from this love of blue that we got the name The Boys in Blue. However, this name way overgeneralizes the demographic and colour of the police, as not all police officers wear blue around the world, and not only boys can be police officers. However, for some time only boys were allowed to be police. Here in the UK, the first proper police force came into being in 1829. Before this, policing was done by volunteers in the community, and it wouldn't be till 1915, almost 100 years later, that we got our first female officer with the power to arrest, Edith Smith. So while historically they would have been boys in blue, this isn't really the case today. Another blue related name is the Thin Blue Line. Now this isn't so much a name you would use for an individual or group. You wouldn't say something like, I'm going to be arrested by the Thin Blue Line, but it's more a name for policing and the concept as a whole. Of course the blue in the Thin Blue Line relates to the colour worn by officers. But what is this thin line? Well, it's figurative and it's meant to represent the separation of order and chaos the police make. Imagine police officers as a wall between chaos and peace, like they are the Thin Blue Line. A very British slang name for the police is a plod / plodder / PC plod / Mr. Plod. Plod has been a word in English since the 16th century meaning to walk slowly. However, author Enid Blyton used the verb as a name for the police officer in her series of Noddy books, with this character being called PC Plod / Mr. Plod. And from these books, the word has been used as a name for real police officers. Another name relating to police officers that comes from popular culture is the 5-0. This is more a collective name for officers. I don't think you'd call an individual a 5-0. This comes from the TV show Hawaii 5-0. Why this show used the numbers 5-0, however, I found a few ideas. One being because Hawaii is the 50th state, and another being because police used to drive Mustangs that had 5.0 litre engines, and this engine etymology actually predates the show. Either way, the name has stuck around. Perhaps one of the most well-known nicknames for the police is pigs. The animal of pigs have a connotation of being fat, gross, dirty, slobbish, all sorts of things like that. And because of this, pig has become a term people call others when they see those characteristics in them. Even to this day you'll hear people get called pigs for things like the way they act, the way they look, or the way they eat, which is really unfair as pigs are super clever and super cute. And from what records we have, it seems people started calling others pigs in around the 16th century. So when did it start to become applied more specifically to police officers? That seems to have happened around the 19th century, as more criminals started to crop up and more people started to dislike the work of the police. This term of pig started to apply to them, and while it seems to have dipped out in the latter half of the 19th century, during the 20th and 21st it has really shot back into popularity. What probably didn't help with this is the caricature that police officers started to attain, in which they are all fat and lazy and love eating donuts, traits that are all somewhat pig-like, though I don't think you should be feeding donuts to an actual pig. Also, from pigs, bacon has too become a nickname for police, as bacon comes from pigs. A really niche term for police is a bobby. Not only is this a UK based name, but specifically used for just London police. If you aren't from the UK, imagine the stereotypical English policeman in the big hat with the club. That's a bobby. This name dates back once again to the aforementioned 1829 formation of proper police forces here in the UK. This change in policing was created and overseen by Sir Robert Peel, and these police officers were named in his honour. At first they were known as Peelers, but that name didn't stick around. However, his first name did get attached to them, as Robert can be changed to Bob, which can be changed to Bobby. The other British police name of Rosa is too thought to come from Robert Peel, with the name of Robert being shifted to Rosa. Another London based name is that of the Bill / the Old Bill. There's a ton of ideas as to where this name comes from, but none of them seem to be definitive. I've read that it comes from bill hooks, which was a weapon of choice for the police, the bill Parliament passed to give the police more powers, a cartoon character from the First World War of the same name, or that it relates to the letters BYL, which all London police vehicles were registered to. Whatever the case, the name became way more cemented when a soap opera about the police called The Bill started to air. Gumshoe is a nickname that gets applied to a specific kind of police officer, a detective. Detectives have to do a lot of walking around, often following people without being noticed, so they had to wear shoes that would help them remain silent. These would have been soft, rubber-soled shoes, or as they were known as in the past, gumshoes, as gum was synonymous with rubber. It has nothing to do with walking around and getting gum stuck on your shoes as I would have presumed it would. Another detective-centric nickname is Dick, which yes has other connotations too. Some believe that Dick is simply a shortening of detective, which I can kind of see. However, others feel it comes from the verb to dick, meaning to have a look around. This dick comes from the Romani dick, meaning to look / see, and looking out for things is something that detectives do quite often. This name was so well known that it was given to the famous fictional detective Dick Tracy, which helped it become synonymous with detectives. But what about a name that was made famous by a certain film that is vastly superior to Shaun of the Dead? Don't at me. The Fuzz. Well, once again, there seems to be multiple ideas as to where this name came from too. One idea is that it's a very bad mispronunciation of force, as in the police force. Over time, people started slurring force into fuzz and it stuck around. However, fuzz is already a word with two meanings, one meaning being covered with hairs, and the other meaning blurry / hard to make out. I've read ideas on how the word got applied to police which covers both of these definitions. One etymology apparently comes from hippies of the 60s who had huge amounts of hair and thought of the short hair of the police being nothing more than some fuzz. However, the idea I really like comes from the other definition of fuzz. We use fuzz meaning hard to make out when it comes to distorted audio or sound of a lot of background noise. And if you've ever heard what a police radio sounds like, then you'll know it sounds rather, well, fuzzy. So it's thought that the fuzz of the police radios led to the police getting the name of Fuzz themselves. Finally, however, we have perhaps the most well-known nickname for the police, the Cops. In fact, I'm not sure if Cops is so much a nickname and more a regional name. In my head, Cops is more a US term and police a UK term, but let me know if I'm wrong. There's so many stories about how the police got called Cops, one being that it's an acronym of Constable on Patrol, but that has been well and truly debunked. Another theory is that it comes from the copper buttons police had on their uniforms, so people started calling them coppers and that was shortened to cops. And while that doesn't seem to be true, copper is also a name for police as well. However, cop isn't a shortening of copper, but rather copper was created from cop. Initially, cop was a verb, and still is today, meaning to take/seize, and over time it meant to arrest, but it was still a verb. As it meant to arrest and police arrest people, the verb of cop shifted to become the noun of cop, a name for police officers, and from here the extra per was added to create copper, as it's a rather usual convention of language to add an er to the end of a verb into a noun, meaning someone who does that verb. The robbers rob and the coppers cop. And that just about wraps things up for police nicknames. However, if you happen to be an actual police officer, I would love to hear from you. Were any of these names new to you, and which ones do you like/dislike the most? Also, do I dare ask what names you've been called while on duty? Let me know down below. Now, I just hope I don't end up arrested for my use of language. Thank you to all my patrons who support Name Explain on a monthly basis. Name Explain depends on small monthly donations from fans like you to help keep the channel running. Just a small amount of $2 a month helps in a huge way, grants you patron exclusive Name Explain extras, and gets your name here with all these awesome people. Thank you. Hello all, thank you so much for reaching the end of the video. Check out another video and subscribe to stay in the loop on all things Name Explain. You can follow myself on Twitter at NameExplainYT. Follow me there and tweet the name Clancy at me so I know you came from this message. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and once again, thank you all so much.